Greetings. We're a couple of conveniently bipedal humanoids, and this is the Klingon Opera House, a Star Trek recap podcast. It's actually just me for this intro. This is M coming to you live from the floor of my closet, sitting in my dog's nest of blankets to deaden the sound of the screaming birds outside. I'm here to let you know that this is part 2 of the Last Outpost recap. We split it into 2 episodes because we talk too much. So I'm going to keep this short and sweet. Enjoy the pod, and ta-ta for now.
I'm gonna speed run this.
Okay.
Picard basically is like, oh, you fucks are uncivilized on accident, and the Ferengi are like, just fuck you, and Picard's like, oh, whatever, yada yada yada, fuck you. Let's just focus on the fact that we're both trapped. They agree to send a joint away team down to the surface. Riker, LaForge, Data, Worf, and Yor are beamed to the planet.
You're going so fast I could not keep track of what's happening.
Okay. On the surface, it opens with Riker alone. It's like this weird rocky desert. There's fucking thunder everywhere. It looks like the aggro crag from Guts.
Yeah, they're described as like crystalline trees, but I think they look more like cacti.
They look like the aggro crag from Guts.
I'm gonna have to believe you on that.
You've never seen Guts?
No.
You're a child of the 90s. It was on Nick.
I missed a lot of shit in the 90s.
Excuses.
Just, you know what? You're cooler than me. Why can't you just accept it?
I'm cooler than you because I know what Guts is.
You know what a lot of things are that I don't.
I'm just confident you know a lot of shit that I know. Okay, so Data is perched. He is squatting.
Yeah,
crystalline cactus.
In the process of beaming down, the crew is separated, so we get the whole screen time of them finding each other.
Yep. They're really, really fucking padding this episode out.
Yeah, they really. I mean, it's kind of fun the way that they regroup, but it's oh, this is fluff. Yeah, so he finds Data in one of the crystal cacti, and Data is looking at the crystals and kind of describing them, and then it's nothing to write home about. And then Riker looked at him like he's a 4-year-old who just quoted Das Kapital.
It's like, how the fuck do you know how to say that?
Yeah.
And Data's like, oh, it's slang. Did I use it wrong? And Riker's like, oh, no.
Yeah, he's very taken aback.
Yeah. They find LaForge, Luke Skywalker, hanging upside down because his foot materialized in a rock, which wouldn't that sever your foot from the rest of your body?
Or at least twist your ankle.
That would sever, okay, hypothetically your foot is in the rock, right?
Right.
That would sever your foot from the rest of your body.
Yeah, it's like your foot is melded with the rock. You know what this also reminds me of?
What?
Well, did you actually read the Harry Potter books?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is when they're practicing apparating, and that one person apparates but leaves their leg behind, and it's really gory and painful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, it should be the Fly shit. You make the teleporter machine and you teleport the Fly with you and the Fly melds with you or something like that, right? It should be LaForge has lost his foot to the rock. There's a toe in that rock now.
Right, yeah. Oh, that'd be such a weird fossil.
God, that'd be so sick.
Yeah, so this was just another little thing to add some fun to this scene, but they really could have taken this really far.
Yeah. Back on the Enterprise, they're running out.
Oh, but they get attacked by the Ferengi.
Oh,
and
yeah.
You see the energy whips.
The energy whips. They're stupid fucking energy whips.
What is it called when you're in line at the movie theater and there's that rope that's kind of velvety?
The barrier thing? I don't. They look like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they look like. Barrier rope? I don't know.
The velvet rope that I always run my hands on, and I'm like, I want 7 of these to because whenever you pick one of those up, that you can tell it's hefty on the end.
Yeah.
I want one of those to whack people with.
It's of course you would. It's like a weighted blanket, but it's a rope.
Yes.
That's why it's so satisfying.
Yeah. I want to hit that against something,
Yeah. And then also when they get knocked out by the energy whips, did you notice that when Data falls, his arms just stick out like Barbie robot?
Yeah.
It's just him in default
they can shut him down. Factory reset on him.
When he turns back on, just his eyes are full of screensavers.
You see the blue screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah. So back on the Enterprise, they're running out of power on the ship for the life support. And they're like, oh, it's going to get really fucking cold. And Picard's like, oh, yeah, minus 200 degrees in orbit. And then Crusher comes up and is like, well, we don't have to worry about anything beyond -70.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. I think about 0.
It's been 0 degrees here.
Yeah, but like that's the kind of weather, like maybe not 0 degrees, but like with wind chill like -30.
Yeah.
Like that's what I. It was the year before I met Maddie, I think, and we had one of those like the early like polar vortex.
Fucking yeah.
Yeah, and it was like you can't be outside for longer than 3 minutes with exposed skin, or else you're gonna start to get frostbite.
Yeah.
Because like I had Scarlet, my first dog at that point, and I lived alone.
Yeah.
So when I walked her, I like covered her up as best I could, but like her nose, like her moisture on her nose would freeze.
Jesus.
And so and I was like trying to workshop putting a hanky over her face, but she was so not into it.
Yeah.
And she also wouldn't pee in the time that we had outside. And so my solution was putting Vaseline on her nose, which like I don't know if that's like really good for a dog, but I was like, it's better than her nose freezing off when she's trying to pee.
Yeah.
But like my apartment at the time had awful insulation.
Yeah.
And so I was holed up in my bedroom with like a blanket over the door and stuffed into the cracks. And then I would like just like kind of skitter out to get food and go to the bathroom and just like stayed in my bedroom for like 2 days.
Jesus.
It was like what was that one with Jake Gyllenhaal when he's really young? And it's like global warming apocalypse.
I do not know. Drive.
Wow, I get to remember that someone's like screaming at their phone right now. Is it the day before tomorrow?
No idea.
I think it's the day before tomorrow.
The day before tomorrow. Just kidding.
Something like
It's
that.
Drive. No, wait, that's Jake Gyllenhaal, not Ryan Gosling.
That's Ryan Gosling in Drive.
What's fucking Jake Gyllenhaal in? Mad Max. That's Mad Max.
No.
Who am I thinking of? Who was in Mad Max?
Is it something Harding? Because he also played Bane.
Tom Hardy. Fucking
Yeah. I like we just.
I'm confusing all of Jude's crushes. Jude is my sibling, by the way.
I feel like we each have like a patchwork of knowledge that mostly like covers for each other, but we still have like these holes.
We found the gap.
yeah, and it's this movie. No, but like I was living like that in my bedroom, all tucked in. Anyway,
yeah. So
why did I get on that tangent?
I don't know, but it was pretty funny.
Oh, it getting so cold in the spaceship. Yeah, but like I feel like -30 is really the cutoff point. You know, like I feel like she could have said -30, like -70. I don't think anyone's hanging around at that point.
You're not gonna die at -30. You'll get.
Yeah, you will. People have died in Milwaukee because of that.
Oh shit, you're right.
Every year, someone dies like walking home from the bars or something.
Yeah, and there's like, homeless people die from exposure all the fucking time. Yeah, that's awful.
Listeners living in the Midwest who still go out to bars and shit in the winter, wear a coat, get a lift, be careful.
Yep.
But so Troy's like, oh, I'm already cold. And it's like, you're in a leotard. Go put on some fuzzy socks.
Yeah, put on some fuzzy socks. Put on your. I know you got them grippy socks. She's a therapist.
Yeah.
She should have those.
Oh my God. This is like when you're a kid and you say to your parents, like, it's so cold in this house. I'm like, go put on a sweater. We're not rich.
Yeah. I know you have some like bougie ass mink coat, Troy. Don't like front like if it's in the middle of winter, you would not be like Gucci down to the fucking socks and like
so many awesome outfits. Of course, she's got something.
Yeah.
Also, they're all just like scattered around the ship, and it's like just huddle in like a certain number of limited rooms. Huddle for body warmth. Where are the foil emergency blankets? I don't know, like as a Midwesterner who like knows like, you know, if you're camping in cold weather, like wear your socks and wear a hat so you don't lose heat from your head, and put your clothes for the next day at the bottom of your sleeping bag so they're warm in the morning. Like watching this, I was just like, they're all fucking idiots.
Yeah. These dumbasses wouldn't survive a Wisconsin winter.
No.
We're going full Midwest this episode. I went full New York for a little bit, but we're going full Midwest.
Yeah. The winters are changing. They're getting weird. It's like less snow and just more fucking freezing and gray.
Yeah,
it's disgusting.
Bring me back the nice winters of my childhood where I would, I'd have to bundle up a fuck ton, but there'd be a ton of snow everywhere. It'd be fun.
Yeah, like yeah. So you've been around in Wisconsin long enough to have noticed the changes in the winter. Like, but in Wisconsin now, like you really don't get snow until like maybe mid-January, definitely February. Before then, it's just cold. When I was a kid, my birthday's at the beginning of December. Every year as a kid, my birthday was a sledding party. And that would absolutely not happen now.
No.
Yeah.
God. There's something about global warming, you dinks. Okay. So, down on the planet, the Ferengi, they took their weapons and they examined Riker's comm badge. And he's like, ooh, it's fucking gold.
Yeah, and we get to see the iconic gray nail polish that Ferengi always have.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I like it so much, but I also know that if I were to wear it as a real person, it would look so fucking stupid.
It would. But you should wear it. Kill the part of you that cringes.
I think it looks interesting because of the reddish tint of their skin.
Kill the part of you.
I am not allowed to paint myself red and walk around in public.
No, not that. Paint your fucking nails.
Just the nails.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen like gray nail polish that looks kind of cool, but like this kind of particular like garbage gray.
Yeah.
I don't know. I enjoy it.
Combine that with some like cyber goth shit, dude.
Yeah.
You should become a cyber goth.
Oh my god. No, I got those dad vibes.
You do. You have any pairs of cargo shorts?
Yes.
I'm so proud of you right now. Hell yeah. Fucking go fishing and grow with me or somewhere, dude.
So when I'm up north, my default outfit is t-shirt, sweatpants. My gray sweatpants are my favorite. Fuzzy socks, or like my warm hiking socks.
Yeah.
And then my Tevas. And then like baseball cap, preferably.
What's it like having such a huge dick, Emily?
If I told you, I'd have to kill you. We have a big dick club. It's a very secret agency.
Yeah, it's true. You can't just reveal that.
No. Yeah. You can aspire to it one day.
Yeah. So one of them asks, didn't we break the captain's agreement by attacking them? And then Quark says, we'll just lie and say they attacked first. We'll gaslight them.
Yeah, they would be such effective Trumpers.
They would. The Ferengi do vote for Trump.
Well, it's got those gold-plated toilets.
Oh, but earlier they were like, oh, this is such a vulgar, or later, they're like, this is such a vulgar use of gold.
Yeah, you know what? That was a very interesting line. Really interesting point of cultural world building here. And then they like totally renege on that later. Like that's just not a concept that carries into like the idea of what Ferengi culture is.
Yeah.
But that was such an interesting idea. I would have loved to see that truly incorporated into Ferengi world building.
Yeah. I like the idea that like maybe like it's like, oh, since it's like gold is like purely used for profit. We are only using this as a fucking currency.
Yeah, or it's like the fine china. It sits on the wall and you never use it.
Yeah. It's almost sacred.
Yeah. Oh, it looks like they're wearing IKEA rugs.
The Ferengi, yeah, they do.
Yeah.
They're with their little fucking like gauntlets too.
Yeah.
I need a pair of gauntlets.
You have the arms for it. I think that would look really rad.
I need like night gauntlets though. You know what I mean?
What?
Like night gauntlets.
What does
like armor.
Oh, I was thinking like nighttime. I was like, what the fuck does that mean? Just like gauntlets of darkness.
Yeah. Riker wakes up and he like fucking spooks him. And the Ferengi's sensitive hearing is overstimulated by the thunder because it's fucking lightning is going on all the time on this planet. They cover their using their shriek. They go, Ree!
Yeah, they all have ADHD. They get overstimulated.
Ferengi all have ADHD. That's funny.
Yeah, right.
Riker's like, my dad's gonna kick your ass.
And then the Ferengi are like, no, it was you who attacked us. Like,
babe,
wow.
You're being really confrontational.
Alternative truth, man.
Yeah, no, dude, it's definitely like why did we enter World War I? The fucking Lusitania. Ooh. Fucking Worf ganks their ass. He starts tussling with them.
Yeah, he was like letting Riker distract them, and then he snuck up on them. Like he was kind of like waiting. I loved that little. So when they all start tussling,
yeah, that
exchange where Riker's like, "I've got this one," and Data's like, "Careful, Commander. They're stronger than they look." And then Riker just gets fucking decked, and Data just does emoji like shrug face.
Like,
yeah. And like Data's like holding up one like he held Wes in the first episode.
No, I like a lot of the gags that they do. It happened a lot more in the show later with Data being mega strong because it's very much like what would a robot actually do with like mega strength. It's like there would be no strain, there would be no like anything like that. It's just like holding someone up.
And he wouldn't just rip someone's head off.
No, he would like
just like disarm them and hold them. It's like when you have a tiny dog that thinks that they can take you on and you just pick them up and it's like, what are you doing?
So Yar rolls up and she just she comes with the heat. She pulls out the tooling. She's about to kill someone. And the Ferengi are like, oh my god, you let a fucking woman work with you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're like, oh my god, you work alongside them and you clothe them and then you arm them.
This is very reminiscent of Code of Honor.
It's like they're equating, quote, backwardsness with the idea that cultural evolution is a straight line. Like misogyny.
Yeah.
Which is just not necessarily the case.
Yeah.
If you have sci-fi and you need to denote that this culture is backwards, just make them fucking misogynists or racists or whatever the fuck. It feels lazy.
Not only does it feel lazy, it's like, you pulled this trick already.
Yeah, last fucking episode. But you know, the way that they talk, like, you armed your woman and you work with them, it almost came off to me as a mix of misogyny along with, oh my god, you give your children your guns, you make them work with you. Like, there's something about, like,
women are a protected class, or
right, except they're also property.
Yeah, like children.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I'm sure that was a fantastic sound in someone's ear.
Okay, right, here's another one.
Do you just, like, swallow air and then burp it back up? Is that what you do?
Yeah.
This is something that assigned male at birth people do. That they just have permission to explore their bodies in the most gross,
I did not want to
putting way.
Yeah.
Like, if you told me to do that, I'd be like, I'm going to barf. Why would I do that?
And then I'm like, dude, I might barf.
Yeah.
This is the reason why Jackass is only dudes, right? We need a female Steve-O.
It's probably out there.
And she will be my wife. Lady Steve-O, hit my line.
You know what would be more fun?
But
A Steve-O Thembo.
Steve-O Thembo?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Also hit my line. Also normal Steve-O hit my line.
All alternate universe Steve-Os of every configuration.
Please,
Ryan.
contact me. I want to hear your, like, weird raspy voices.
So we're back on the ship.
Yeah. They're talking about giving Wes a sedative so he doesn't have to wait for death.
Mm-hmm.
It's morbid.
Yeah, Bev is talking to Picard about this. And, like, this is kind of establishing, like, a personal relationship between the two.
Uh-huh.
But, like, I don't know. I mean, I guess this is the problem with, like, the limited amount of screen time of a TV show. But I was like, I didn't quite understand up until this point that these two had this kind of relationship where they would talk about this. And this conversation does establish that. But, like, my first reaction was like, wow, this is a deep conversation.
Heavy.
Yeah. But, yeah, Picard thinks that Wes has the right to greet death while awake. And Bev is, like, kind of eye-rolly. And she asks if, like, that's a male perspective. And then Picard is like, rubbish, and just walks away. And, like, I don't know about you, but this dialogue landed, like, interesting conversation. The dialogue, like, landed weird.
The rubbish at the end to her asking if that's the male perspective.
Yeah.
Very weird, because that is kind of a male perspective. I don't know.
I mean, that's it's a kind of male perspective.
It's a very, like, romantic last stand kind of thing, which I suppose we think of as being masculine.
Mm-hmm.
Greet death with your eyes open. Don't be a coward or whatever. Suffer unnecessarily because you're a man.
Yeah. Like, the captain goes down with the ship.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're back down on the surface.
Yeah. The crew, they're about to shoot these fucking Ferengi, but the crystals absorb the energy instead. The Ferengi try to return fire with the rips, but the same thing happens. Start beating the shit out of each other. You have 4-1. Kick their ass.
Yeah, they all just, like, pause and, like, freeze and don't do anything. They're just like, what the fuck? Which, like, I mean, fair. That's, like, a very unusual thing to happen. I would probably do the same thing. But, like, the way that the bolts of the phaser and the energy whips, like, noodles around into the crystal, that was a really fun visual effect. Like, I don't know. I just, like, had fun.
It looks good, yeah.
Yeah. It's like silly, but also
there's, like, that
I don't know,
sci-fi silly.
Yeah, like, if my phaser did that, I'd be like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that's, like, fun. No, yeah, like, looks good. It's fun, and it's like there's a goofiness in sci-fi where it's like, yeah, in Star Wars we'll have this frog man be a Jedi because it's fun. You know?
Yeah, and it's like a little bamboozling to the audience.
Yeah, the whole point of that sequence is like, oh, we're tricking him because we're like, ooh, here's this goofy, fun puppet character, and then he's a master Jedi, right?
Mm-hmm. I think bamboozle is one of my top 50 favorite words.
It's a top tier. It's an S tier
Yeah.
word, bamboozle.
The onomatopoeia, A+.
Also kind of sounds like boobs.
Yeah, sometimes boobs bamboozle me.
I'd be bamboozling some boobs sometimes.
I love bamboozling as a verb.
Yeah. The crew, they're like, oh yeah, it's a similar phenomenon to drain the ships, and they realize the whips were working earlier, so something's changed.
Mm-hmm.
And LaForge is like, this whole planet is basically a fucking battery.
Yeah. He's like, I've been seeing weird patterns with my visor. This makes sense now.
He's like, oh, I just thought I was seeing ghosts, and there was a sixth sense thing going on.
Yeah. It's like you think you're tripping, but it's like real.
Bruce Willis was actually there.
Yeah.
Sorry to spoil the end of Sixth Sense.
Oh my god. I'm genuinely curious.
Who hasn't seen
that?
Sixth Sense?
Yeah. Like Zoomers. Is there a moment where someone sits you down and is like, this is a cultural touch point, just sit down and watch this movie?
It's a good fucking movie. It's like M. Night Shyamalan's like only good movie.
I really liked The Village, but I think it's because the aesthetic scratches a spot in my brain.
You have religious trauma. So you're gonna fucking be like, oh, yeah.
But also the soundtrack to that is really good.
Yeah. Unbreakable's good too.
I don't think I've seen that one. Anyway,
This is not a superhero movie. This is not the topic.
Yeah, this isn't the M. Night Shyamalan podcast.
I will do that one day. Signs is also garbage, and if you try to tell me Signs is good, I'll kick your ass, listener. I'm just giving you a look. What's up?
No, I was just in my brain thinking about like where the fuck were we like in the recap?
Oh yeah, the Wizard of Oz shows up.
Yeah. They wake up the
guardian of the planet.
Yeah, and
this
shows up as a
sequence is very cool. I like it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this also hurts the Ferengi's ears. They really need to get loop earplugs.
They do.
Have you seen those?
The ones where they go around your ear?
No, it's like an earplug like what you would listen to music to, same structure, but it doesn't plug into anything, not Bluetooth or anything. And when you look at them, there's like a little circle. That's the thing that you pull on to take it out of your ears. Yeah. So that's why they call it the loop, because it's like the actual structure of the thing. But people use it for like concerts.
Just like normal earplugs, kind of.
Yeah, but it keeps the fidelity of the sound, but it doesn't blow out your ears. And also, if you are really sensitive to audio stimulus, like if you're at a cafe or you're like trying to study and like the fridge is really loud, like Maddie has a pair.
That fucking rocks.
Yeah. I
need a pair of those.
Yeah, they're really great. Yeah, the Ferengi need loop earbuds.
Yeah, they do.
Okay, so yeah, the giant face identifies itself as Portal 63, and it's a guardian of the Deccan Empire. And he's like, oh, y'all are bipedals. Let me speak in your language. And he materializes as a bipedal. And he like kind of like looks down at himself. He's like, oh, this is kind of nifty.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I always enjoy putting on this costume.
Yeah.
This is like, as a non-binary person, this is me like day to day dressing pretty androgynously and then be like, I'm going to Foundation for drinks. I'm going to dress high femme. Oh, this is kind of fun.
Trying this out for a while. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. Oh, this is nice for a night.
He was new boot scooting. That's what I'm hearing.
This is ringing a bell.
New boot goofing. I said scooting. It's goofing. It's a TikTok.
What isn't a TikTok these days? Everything is either TikTok or cake.
You're fucking right. Yeah. So he comes down and he's got like this weird fucking halberd thing.
Mm-hmm.
He's in his robe. He looks like Merlin. It's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah. Oh, I was thinking that he looks like if Ollivander from Harry Potter was a Witcher.
Yes. Or like I was just like in general getting the vibe of off-brand Gandalf.
Really off-brand Gandalf.
Yeah. But like that's like every fucking wizard, I suppose.
Yeah. Generic wizard type.
Yeah. No, he's Magic the Gathering card number 2257.
Yeah, so Riker and Data are like, oh, this is awkward. We're really sorry to break it to you, but the party has been over for a while.
Dude, you need to go home. Yeah. So the Ferengi, they're like, man, these guys are fucking liars. Give us back control of our ship. We were trying to get them to stop them from looting your empire. And they're like, look at these fucking liar pieces of shit. They call them like barbarians. And they're like, your no interference policy, that's fucking anti-free trade. All this bullshit.
Yeah, it feels very Republican and like buzzwordy, like jobs and economic growth over everything else.
This is fucking, they're libertarians.
Yeah.
The Ferengi are
Yeah.
libertarians.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but especially in this scene, the way that they're moving, this is where I was really like, the Ferengi are crouching like apes.
It feels like watching a fucking stage play where like the villain is coming up.
Yeah, it's a high school play, and the kid who's playing the villain has like watched Lord of the Rings and really took a page out of the Book of Gollum.
Yes. And that kid was my friend in high school.
I do enjoy though, like Mordok, the guy who is talking to Yar,
Yeah.
the way he's like throwing around his hands.
He's like trying to fuck with her.
It feels like Krampus plus Nosferatu plus Where the Wild Things Are.
Correct, you're
Like,
right.
It's goofy and fun, which, I mean, that is not what they were going for, which blows my mind that they didn't watch this as they were filming it and be like, this is silly.
It reminds me of like, have you ever seen like a wrestling match, like a high school wrestling match?
No, my school didn't have sports. We were very small.
Okay. One time I was at a high school wrestling match, and one of the wrestlers did this thing where he snapped in the other guy's face, and then he shot so he could take out his legs, right? As like a distraction. That's like what that felt like, where it was like,
What?
yeah.
Is that like legal within the rules?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
That feels like pocket sand.
Pocket sand. That's a shot. Fuck yeah, dude.
Oh my God. Amazing.
Yeah, no, he's like trying to like psych her out. He's like, you don't know where my hands are going.
No, he's trying to like make her feel like her personal bubble is at risk.
Yeah, he's rattling things at her.
Yeah. So the Enterprise crew responds fairly differently. They're like, "Oh, we accept your trial. We're sure we'll be proven innocent." The Federation is awful at like it's like you can be self-convinced of your innocence. They are always presuming
Everyone shares their fucking values.
well, also like efficientness and non-corruptionness. I'm not saying it correctly of like their judicial system.
Yeah. Well, because earlier with fucking Q,
Mm-hmm.
they're like, we'll take your fucking thing because
Yeah.
you know what? We'll be judged and you'll think we're correct. And the whole point is Q is trying to tell them, like, you play by unfair rules, so I'm going to play by unfair rules with you.
Yeah, they agreed to play Monopoly with someone who every 10 minutes flips the board and says this is part of the game.
Yeah.
And it's like they keep agreeing to play with people who they don't know that they're not going to like pick their nose and stick their booger on the board and be like, this is part of the game.
Right. Yeah. No, they're boxing and they were like, no, don't check if he brought like an Indiana Jones whip into the fucking like.
Yeah.
Like, right. Don't check if he's wrecked his hands in barbed wire instead of gloves. Like,
this is also very like, of course, white people wrote this. Yes, I trust your justice system.
yeah.
I'm innocent. I trust you will, agree with me.
This is a very big side note. Okay, so they're like, who will be fucking challenged? And the Ferengi points at Riker. And the guy asks him a bunch of questions like, Riker, you're being fucking challenged. I'm getting big Indiana Jones at the end of The Last Crusade vibes, where he's like, the penitent man will kneel and he kneels, and then the fucking buzzsaws come out and shit like that, and he has to walk across the, like, it's like your faith or whatever, and he walks across the invisible bridge, and then he has to pick out the Holy Grail and shit like that. I'm getting big vibes of that, where he's like, yes, I just have to, because like, in Indiana Jones, though, he's like, I'm following this book my dad wrote on this, that way I can, like, actually do this, but, like, he's very much, like, just kind of trying to, like, big dick it and see if it works. Like,
Yeah. Also, Worf like jumps forward and is like, "No, for battle, come to me." And Riker tells him to sit and stay. And Worf is weirdly blank in this exchange. And I kind of wonder if the actor's getting used to the prosthetics, because later in the show, he really portrays a lot with just like what he does with his eyes, and it's very effective.
Michael Dorn, very good at, like, I call it the Forrest Whitaker acting method, where you're constantly just fucking using your eyes to portray what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
He's really good at the fucking crazy eyes.
Yeah, but then, like his brother Kern and Gowron, I'm thinking of like how they emote. They also use their eyes a lot, but they use their mouth a lot more. But I'm wondering if like his beard additions make it hard on a daily filming basis to use your mouth really aggressively.
Yeah.
Like, have you ever worn like fake facial hair?
Yeah. No, it makes it hard.
It's really stiff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah. So Portal does, yeah, you put this down. The Portal does some weeaboo shit with his spear and lands right next to Riker's face and doesn't flinch. And the Portal, he's like impressed and with his composure, with the acceptance of fate. And Riker's like, fear is the only true enemy. Now, the Portal had been listening to Riker's thoughts about Sun Tzu, and he wants Riker to tell him more. And he's like, oh, he's a Chinese philosopher from ancient Riker. How the fuck will you know what China is? Riker would know that he's a Chinese philosopher. Chinese would mean nothing to the Portal.
Yeah, I suppose, like, he needs some kind of descriptor to give him.
I suppose.
But I mean, yeah, he could have really just said he was an ancient Earth philosopher.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I guess that is an unnecessary specification.
The Portal's like, the Khan has a lot in common with Earth history, and he wants to get he wants to get drinks. And put a funny in the.
I can't not put funny into the recaps.
In the recap, he wants to get drinks to exchange numbers. Riker, maybe like stop by the Portal sometime.
I dig your vibes.
Yeah, me and my spear saw you from across the bar.
Yes, that is the energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like so about Riker like really quickly.
Yeah. Pre-beard Riker even.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
I don't know. The different strokes for different folks, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Riker's like, okay, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, could you like maybe please release my ship? And Pearl's like, oh yeah, sure, no problem, man. And it's like relinquishes his trap just in time, and we see the crew like,
yeah.
Well, actually, they don't do that. They just like kind of slowly wake up, and
Beverly was like putting her hand on Picard's face.
She was checking his pulse.
Oh, I thought they were just being horny.
No, she was checking. You know what? Horny vibes, but for a purpose.
Like all good erotica.
But like, yeah, like everyone should be a little blue and like huddled up in their chairs, and then like when shit like the oxygen comes back, they should be like, like. I suppose this is also like, you only got so much screen time and budget and whatever, but like, I feel like you really could have acted these things.
Yeah.
This is not what oxygen and warmth deprivation looks like. You don't just like wake up from like this isn't like, oh, I meant to nap for 15 minutes and I passed out for 3 hours. Now I don't know what day it is. Like, that's what these people were doing.
Yeah. You didn't get put into fucking cryogenic sleep. You were dying.
Yeah. Anyway, so the Portal tells Riker that usually he destroyed both ships since they were fighting, but he noticed that they were trying to cooperate. He's really just a scientist putting rats in a cage, and if the rats are like aggressive or standoffish with each other, he's just like, great, put them in the gas chamber. Or like, oh, they're trying to find the cheese together. That's cute. Let them live.
Despite all my rage, I am still just a rat in a cage.
Still just a nerd on a starship.
I'm still just Nicolas Cage. Peace. Oh my god! Yeah,
I'm still just John Travolta pretending to be Nicolas Cage. Oh my god!
So he's like, "Hey, Reich, buddy, I want to get up in your guts, but first I'm going to ask you, should I destroy the Ferengi vessel?" I think he's trying really hard to make Riker think he's cool. The Portal is.
Yeah.
And Riker's like, nah, don't do that, man. They're like us, but a long time ago.
Yeah, the Starfleet keeps doing this thing, like, oh, they're like us, but before. We can't hate what we once were.
Yes, you can.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, again, this is the same fucking analysis I come back to every episode. It's the like, I won't let my emotions get in the way of facts.
Yeah, it's like, when they go low, we go high. Take the high road all the time.
And to that I say,
sometimes it's fun to be petty.
Yeah, sometimes you have to punch your Nazi. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, I don't know. I can see what they're trying to do with the scripts, though, but the fact that they've done this like 3 times in the last 5 episodes feels excessive.
Yeah, no, they're running low on fucking ideas.
Which is wild. We are in episode 5. How are you already out of ideas?
There's so much you can do with Star Trek too.
Yeah.
Like they introduce a really interesting concept in fucking Farpoint with Q. that's a great idea. That's an idea that I'm interested in and I want more of, right? And then they're just like, same thing 3 times after that. Like,
All the aliens they come into contact to are just foils to prove how morally superior the Federation is.
yeah.
But like my favorite episodes are the ones where like the Federation fails and like the point of the plot is struggling with that failure and thinking like, what can we do better? How do we fix this? How do we like change?
Okay.
Or what do we do about it?
I have something to say about this,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm cashing in more Warhammer references.
Oh my god.
Sorry.
Okay.
The point of Warhammer, the whole thing is that everyone's a shithead.
Mm-hmm.
But there are like, some that are like less shitheads. The Imperium of mankind sucks, but they're fighting like orcs that are mindless, literal space demons, elves that enslave people. So they're like, subsequently less shitty. But there's one group called the Tau who are kind of considered the good guys. And I'm reading a book right now that involves them basically like being involved with the Tau. And the whole thing is like, oh, the Imperium of mankind is not like morally superior to these people at all. Like you realize like, oh, these guys are shitheads and stuff like that. And it's like, please do that with the Federation. Have a fucking thing where someone actually has like a moral high ground over these assholes.
I mean, they do that in DS9, and I think that's why I love DS9 so much, because they're not morally pure.
No, they're just, Cisco is morally pure. Cisco knows.
He makes some hard calls, though.
Yeah.
That like.
Well, Cisco isn't morally pure, I should say. He's like morally consistent. He's a compelling character with a good code of morals. He's not just like perfect.
Yeah. It's like what makes Cisco interesting is when his Federation responsibilities come into conflict with his personal feelings about the situation. And it's like, that's what's fun.
Yeah.
God, we've said this before, but we're going to go through like the list of episodes of the first couple of seasons of TNG and just pick the ones we're going to skip because we can't keep fucking doing this.
Yeah.
Like a podcast where all we do is rip shit out of Star Trek. Like it's kind of fun. Nothing but that. That's not the point of this podcast.
Yeah. Well, and
It's
this
to enjoy.
episode, I really tried to like, and like I do like a lot of this episode. I was talking about how fucking cool like the concept of like the Khan Empire is.
Yeah.
They fucking fumble the bag.
Yeah. It's like, dude, I would love this so much if you just tweaked the recipe a little bit.
Yeah, and then they do. And we're not gonna wait to get to that. We're gonna fucking skip.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Speaking of which, let's finish the recap.
Yeah. The portal's like, what if they never learn? And Riker is like, liberal interpretation of dialectics. They'll come to be exactly like us because like, ooh, we're the best ever because I'm a conceited shithead. Portal's like, all right, I'm going back to sleep. Bye-bye. After Riker's like, everyone you know is dead. And it disappears with a flash. The Enterprise has regained possession of the energy converter from the Ferengi. And Picard is like, good job, array team. And Riker asks permission to send Data's Chinese finger traps over the Ferengi as a thank you. Fuck you.
Yeah. And this really does lean into the idea that the Ferengi are dumb as a box of rocks.
To be fair, the next scene, though, they're like, LaForge gets his fingers stuck in a trap, so Data enters the coordinates for him and they leave orbit.
Which, I guess, yeah. It's like, okay, so everyone here is a fucking idiot. But yeah, like the camera close-ups on their hands, and all you see is like Geordi's fingers stuck, and then Data's hands, like, doing the coordinates for him. Like, that's a cute moment.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I like that a lot.
Stupid but cute.
Yeah. No.
Which is so much of the show.
Yeah, let's do some bright sides for the ends of this episode.
Yeah, okay.
Let's talk about the stuff that we liked.
Yeah, we'll remind ourselves of what we enjoyed.
Tension at the beginning. The opening half of this episode, before the Ferengi comes on screen, really good.
Yeah, like the positioning and the verbal maneuvering and strategizing, that's kind of fun.
Yeah.
And then like, Data getting his finger stuck in the trap. Like
cute, fun.
Cute. Jory's reaction is silly.
I like that they gave Troy a lot to do.
She didn't do a lot. She didn't have a ton of dialogue, but when she did show up, her dialogue was on point.
I like not a lot to do, but I like that she was shown as being confident and not just like an excuse to have telepathy in the fucking show.
Also, still gotta say, everyone looking real good in their jumpsuits.
Yes.
Enjoying that.
We are nothing if not horny.
Yeah. The bingo card free space is horny brig.
True. Dr. Crusher, kill me, please. I like that the unknowns about the Ferengi. I like the Takao Empire. I like that there's like a portal that's like an old dude.
Yeah.
That feels very like 70s Dune, like stupid and a little disappointing, but it's also pretty funny.
Yeah, that Ferengi concept of like what you're supposed to do with gold, like that's such a fun concept. And I am disappointed that they didn't pick that up for like later world building, but that tickled my brain.
Yeah. That's fucking season 1, episode 5. We're gonna skip a few after this, so if you get mad about that, shit yourself. Go cry and be sad. I don't know. Go fuck yourself.
Who's gonna be sad about us not covering crappy episodes?
I don't know. Some shithead. I know the internet.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, so we have what's on the holodeck and then our guesses for next episode synopsis.
Right.
Let's do holodeck first.
Holodeck. Warhammer again, sorry. I have been listening to the audiobook of Caiaphas Cain, Hero of the Imperium. Very good. The whole thing is centered around an Imperial Commissar, which, I told you about them before. Their whole shtick is like, oh, kill the men to get them in line. His whole thing is like, I am a political officer, but he's also very self-preserving. So the whole thing is he's like, I'm going to treat my troopers well, and I'm going to not sacrifice their lives, and I'm going to try to keep harmony, keep morale up in positive ways. But because I don't want to get shot in the head. So the whole thing is like, he's like this, everyone views him as like this hero of the Imperium, but like his underlying things are like, keep me out of the line of fire. I don't want to really be here. Right. And it's like this, his previous memoirs, the whole thing is like vaguely imposter syndrome, where he's like, I don't really believe that I deserve the title of hero and stuff like that, even though he does all this hero shit. Because all of his intentions are like, fuck you. Like I want to be safe.
Yeah, it's like he acts out of the desire to survive and therefore like meets expectations, but because expectations of not fucking people over are so rarely met, he's seen as a hero.
Yes.
Okay.
And he also does like crazy shit. Like earlier, before the book is set, they like allude to the fact that like he fought off a Tyranid thing, which is these fucking bug people, the bugs from Starship Troopers, basically them by himself, right? And like stuff like that. And he does all this heroic shit, and he has like this like reputation for heroics, which he gets himself into accidentally. But he also just like has like victories under his belt because he's really like self-preserving. And the whole thing is based around him being assigned to this regiment because he was like, I'm tired of doing like, because kept getting sent to like these like really dangerous missions, and he was like, I'm going back to being a normal commissar because I don't want to die anymore. And the whole thing is around him. These two Imperial legions have been meshed, and one of them is female and one of them is male. And the first opening chapters, which is as far as I've gotten, is him basically finding out ways to get them to work together and not like hate each other. And it's really good. I like him as a character a lot because Caiaphas Cain is so like, I think he would be fun as a Star Trek character, where like this idea of like very good, Starfleet officer, but is not motivated by the normal Starfleet shit. It's more like, oh, I want my troops to like me, so that way they don't shoot me in the back of the head while we're on the battlefield. So that way they actively want to sacrifice themselves for me when we're on the battlefield.
I feel like that like Cisco has a flavor of that.
Yes, and Cisco also is like, he's the most human of the captains, I think. Granted, I don't have that much experience with Janeway, but like, one, his arc as a father, he's allowed to have a consistent love interest, and like he's allowed to like be fun and funny in a way that isn't like, oh, look at this god coming off of his pedestal to have fun with us. Right?
Yeah, but like I would say that Janeway, like in the way that she's kind of like the fun teacher, she gets to be more human in that way. But then like
Cisco's your classmate.
Yeah, it's like the writers were afraid, like they felt like they were treading on thin ice, making a woman captain. Like they were concerned that the audience wouldn't buy it, and so like to kind of try to protect her sense of authority. Like she never has. It's kind of like Buffy. Like Buffy never gets to keep her love interests.
Yeah.
I haven't finished Buffy, but Maddie apparently wrote. Maddie wrote an essay about how like Buffy is a cool, capable girl character, but she doesn't get to enjoy being a full person and having a boyfriend because like fuck Joss Whedon.
Yeah. Fuck Joss Whedon a million times over.
And part of her writing that assignment was posting it somewhere online. And I read that.
You read it?
Yeah. like
Holy
years
shit.
before we met.
Holy shit, you guys have been like fucking premonitions.
Yeah, we've been like orbiting each other for years. But it's like Haley's Comet is like one orbit every like 3 years or something.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy that we didn't meet before we did.
Yeah.
Wow. Anyway, fuck, what was I?
Buffy's not allowed to.
Oh yeah, so Janeway, in the same way, is in order to protect her sense of authority, just does not get to have a love life because she's like it's like a conflict of interests, and it's like okay, maybe sure, but also you are in the middle of the Delta Quadrant. You are on the other side of the galaxy. You can bend the rules a little bit. You let Paris and B'Elanna get together when like technically that's against the rules now apparently.
Fuck someone. Like
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, Janeway.
Yeah. So it's like she's allowed to tap into some aspects of her humanity that Picard usually chooses not to.
Yeah.
But then it refrains from tapping into humanity in other ways.
Yeah.
Which
Cisco is the
very
only
sad.
captain who is a full character.
Yeah.
Even with like the end of his arc with him like quite literally sacrificing himself for the rest of Bajor and stuff like that. Like him quite literally coming to terms with the fact that he's an actual god. He is still more relatable than anyone else. Than any of the other captains.
Yeah. You know what? I would argue it's not that he's more human because like someone who isn't relatable is still it's a very human experience of difficulty with being relatable or relating to other people.
Yeah.
I think it's a matter of being skilled at being vulnerable. And
yeah.
Cisco definitely struggles with vulnerability in a lot of cases, but his threshold for vulnerability is much higher than like say Picard.
He defers to Kira a fucking lot and to Dax and like everyone else too.
Yeah.
I
mean, I think that is kind of just the situation of what DS9 is. Like, DS9 is not really technically Starfleet property anyway.
Yeah.
It's like they're basically renting it from the Bajoran people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're renting it. Yeah. And
they want to get their deposit back at the end.
Yeah. They're better than the last tenants.
Yeah, no kidding. Okay, it's in the lease this time. You can't run a death camp. It's not good for the flooring.
Yeah. What I was gonna say though, Caiaphas Cain, because I've read another book about another commissar, who's also a colonel, so he's like more military involved, but he's Gaunt, really good book. Gaunt's Ghosts, and in Gaunt's Ghosts, it's a lot of like Gaunt is this very like single-minded, like I am going to lead my men and we are going to win. And Caiaphas Cain the whole time is like it's way more fun to listen to him because it's like, well, okay, I could be fucked if we really win this battle or not, right? Sure, I could lose some of my reputation as a hero, but there's there's extenuating circumstances. I could bullshit my way out of this. It's really more so like, how do I get away from fighting anything throughout the entire book? And I love it so much. What's on the holodeck for you?
All right. Post-recording insert number 2. I'm going to cut in here real quick for a content warning. My holodeck item for this week is that I just finished Hellblade, and given that the game has themes of mental health struggles and coping with death, we're going to be talking about things like depression, psychosis, and suicidal ideation. If you think you're not in a good place to listen to that stuff right now, we'd suggest skipping the rest of this episode. We're going to be adding a list of mental health resources to our Instagram story highlights and maybe elsewhere as well. Just know that if you are struggling, we love you and we care about you. Ryan sends smooches. He actually sends smooches. That was part of the recording. I'm going to insert it in here just after this because it's very sweet. So yeah, here's my holodeck.
Here's a smooch from me.
You just love giving smooches.
I'm a smooch man.
So, I finished Hellblade.
Yes, I saw your Instagram story. You cried.
Mm-hmm. So, oh man, like where do I fucking start? Like, just the actual build of the video game was really good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, also going from The Witcher to Hellblade, it's like a step up in like animation technology.
Yeah.
But even so, like, I feel like every time I look at a new video game, I am once again awed.
Yeah, like that's how I felt with God of War when that came out. I was like, holy shit. I don't know, PS4 looked really good, but like there was a lot of stuff that like wasn't that crazy. Then when God of War came out, I was like, holy shit. right?
Yeah.
I imagine that's how you're feeling with Hellblade.
Right. Yeah. Visuals really compelling, really realistic, and just like it really set the scene,
Yeah.
which is it's what that's meant to do, but it did it very effectively.
Some games don't have that.
Yeah.
Crap.
It soundtrack was really good. It pumped you up at the right moments. And then in the moments where you're supposed to be like scared and confused, it did exactly that. I don't know. For the first little bit of the game, I was just like, this is this all just solving puzzles? But like as you really get going, the solving of the puzzles goes hand in hand with her emotional journey through the game. So I was just impressed with like the how they did that. But also like I mean, she's trying to retrieve the soul of her beloved, and by the end, she has psychosis, and that's a huge aspect of the game. By the end, she's like not sure if any of this is real. And like she realizes like if this darkness and the stuff I've been fighting, like if this isn't real, then I can't save Dillian, my betrothed, because like this isn't how this works.
Right.
Also, then she has to accept like I can't run away from to her it's like she calls it the darkness, her curse, because like she doesn't have the language for it, but she can't run away from her psychosis.
Right.
She can't fight her way out of psychosis. And she's like, okay, this is just how I am.
Right.
And so like the last scene is so she's been carrying the head of her betrothed in like a bag, which is really creepy. And like throughout the game, there's moments where her voices are like, is the head's whispering. The head's saying something to you.
Holy shit.
It's a mind fuck, dude.
God, I know, okay, this is really damaging to like people with psychosis and stuff like that, but that's serial killer shit. Like,
I mean, that's trauma shit.
that's true, yeah.
Yeah, because like
Okay, yeah. I shouldn't say that. I'm sorry.
No, yeah, but like I mean serial killers are the effect of mental
Huge amounts of
illness,
traumatization.
trauma,
Yeah.
and a lack of help.
That's true. I shouldn't. That's a fucking reinforcing a stigma.
But so eventually she's like, okay, I can't get him back. Like there's this line like when you turn away from death because you don't want to see it, then it doesn't help because all you see is the shadow it casts, and then eventually all you see is the shadow. But only by turning to death and accepting it can you move on and appreciate life. And like, there is no love without loss. Not to say that like her love for Dillian is greater because he's gone now, but like that's just part of the process of being in love.
Yes. When you fall in love, you accept the fact that there will be loss.
Yeah. And it's like, falling in love with Maddie has been the shit. It's been great.
Yeah.
And also like decide get married has been fucking great and exciting. But now I'm like, fuck. Now there's the possibility of losing this awesome thing. Not in that, like, we would fuck up the relationship and like cheat or whatever, but like, one of us could fucking die. And that would be the worst. Like, when I think of like, wow, life without my twin, not worth it. And now I'm like, wow, life without Maddie, not worth it. Not that I'm going to kill myself, not thinking that precisely. But, like the concept of that kind of loss is so terrifying.
Yes.
That's what I'm getting at.
Yes,
yeah.
I understand that feeling. That is one of those, when I was really in the like throes of depression, I had thoughts like, what's the point of being alive if everyone I know and love will die, and anyone I know could die in any second? About the same person, ironically, I was like, if Maddie died, I'd and that is like, I talked about this earlier, and like you can hear this in any fucking like philosophy 101 college lecture, but like when we detach ourselves from meaning as being, or the idea that in order to have a meaningful and fulfilling life, there must be these certain aspects, rather than the fact that we must be simply living and trying to find said meaning or trying to find some larger satisfaction in life or something like that. When we attach ourselves, we open our ass to basically like just getting kicked, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I started thinking about it this way. If people I care about died, Maddie died. She was really one of the big ones.
Now you better fucking live for forever.
Maddie will. I thought, well, one, Maddie sure as hell wouldn't want me to like mope around and kill myself or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And two, at that point, right, it's simply a fact of life, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're gone, right? Whether you accept it or not, right, it happens. So all you can do is continue to live. You can just continue to move and try to find something that matters to you in the same way. Just because one thing is gone doesn't mean that another thing can't rise. You know, you'll mourn that thing for the rest of your life, right?
Mhm.
But
I think the scary idea is that like you won't find another big thing.
you will.
I think that there's also the idea that sometimes like the smaller things can add up into the reason to like live.
Yeah.
Of like, the spring smells nice. My coffee is great. I get to sit with my dog. I can go on a walk.
The mundane is sort of, yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with that.
And I'm not trying to say that you can think yourself out of like depression or psychosis.
No, you absolutely cannot.
But like these kinds of thought processes can be cathartic and helpful.
Yeah.
And
this idea that like even if the thing that I prescribed as being the meaning of my life is gone, life can still have these good feelings. This micro meaning, right?
Yeah.
And by every second choosing not to kill yourself, right, you are making meaning.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a way to put it.
Yeah. That's the way Camus put it.
Really?
Yeah, I love that guy.
Yeah, another line from the video game was something like, you are a wave in the ocean and you have your time, but then you hit the shore and then you are no more. But like, we don't mourn the waves, we just see the ocean. Something like that. And like that line, I was just like just existence in and of itself is something to be celebrated.
That reminds me of God. Entering douche mode. I'm going to talk about Buddhism. Not that if you're automatically a douche if you're a Buddhist. Just I am not Buddhist and I'm a white guy. So we are entering douche territory. There's the concept of dependent origination. Nothing exists without another thing, right? So Buddhism has this tendency to view things as confluence of events. We're all just kind of these things that flow along this like eternal thing of life, right? There is no real you to pin down. You change every second, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just this like confluence of like events. This is really fucking hard to describe in a podcast like snippet. But it's like this idea that like since there is no you and you change every second, there is no thing to pin down. You're just another thing, second by second, moving in the always movingness of the world.
Yeah, you're like a continual series of nows that have differing kinds of relations to the before and afters.
Yes.
Okay, but yeah, so I guess to like finish that thought, I don't know, it's not like I'm like, this video game solved my depression.
No, it's just a permanent thing.
It like honestly, the whole game was cathartic to me. Like it's not like I think I'm the only person who ever experiences like existential anxiety, like in a really intense and daily way.
Yeah.
But like that is something that I deal with.
Right. No, like I get that.
I don't think I'm special for like being existential, but like it is something that like
affects you. Yeah.
Yeah. And just like these different portions of the game, like one of her voices is kind of more of a narrative like bent, and it'll just do a little bit of like exposition on stuff that happened before where the game starts, or like it'll like just talk about overarching like things that are happening. And it's almost like the game is almost a meditation about death and acceptance of things you can't control, including mental health.
Yeah.
And like,
oof, man, that's a fucking tough.
Yeah, and also like about mental health being a true journey. Like you don't cure mental health issues. You treat them and you cope with them and you enjoy your life, not in spite of them, but just with them. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's, I mean, I always thought of it as in spite of it. Like, I don't know if this is necessarily a healthy way to think about it. I'll talk to my therapist about it. But I always think of myself as being in combat with my depression, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where it's this idea that, like, my depression is not my friend. It's something that I live with, but I don't know, like, it's very, like, okay, it's here. I deal with it. I beat the shit out of it. I don't repress it, but I accept the thoughts that I have of it, and I like basically learn to cope with it. And I think of coping in that sense of me taking back my mind, right? I didn't ask for depression. It's there. It's not going to go away, but I'm controlling it. I'm learning how to how to deal with it, right? And that's like me being like reclaiming my own mind.
Yeah. I feel like having a mental illness is kind of like having a really poorly behaved dog.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I feel like I've seen a web comic about this. Like, I know this is not an original idea. This is like, this did not come from my brain. It came from somewhere. But it's like, you go adopt this dog, you realize it's poorly behaved. Over time, you start to realize like what its patterns of behavior is, what it doesn't deal well with. And then as a good dog owner, you start to figure out what can we do differently to accommodate this dog. And like we can try to like we can work on training this dog, but in the meantime, we also need to, set things up so that it doesn't, get more stressed out or bite anyone.
Yeah.
And the goal is that eventually you both modify the dog's behavior or like teach it some boundaries.
Yeah.
But like don't bite people, don't pee in the house. Like those are boundaries.
Yeah.
And then you also learn to orchestrate your life in such a way that sets the dog up for success.
Yeah.
And that's what's having a mental illness is like. It's like, yeah, it can really feel like something that you're fighting or that's something that you're fighting against. And
Yeah.
not that it isn't, but you can't separate yourself from it. And so, like, I think that seeing it as a foe is not helpful.
Yeah. Well, yes. No, I think you're right.
And I think, like, back towards the game, you could say the same thing about death.
You can't fight death.
Yeah. You can't go fight the goddess Hela to defeat death.
I can. It's
But what you can do is, I don't know, accepting is such like a big word, but like
it is really that.
yeah, like learning to live with the truth of death, and then learning to continue to enjoy life with that knowledge.
Well, it's this idea of like radical acceptance, right?
Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
I think in the existential context, this idea that like, yes, if I accept wholeheartedly there is no God and I'm going to die, I can then live in the moment much better. My life can become much more meaningful and powerful.
Yeah, like sometimes I feel like when I find myself dissociating, especially if I'm like at a concert or it's kind of like social situation that like I came here to enjoy myself and I realize I'm dissociating, I'll think to myself, like, you don't get to do this again. You don't get to hit Control Z and like try again. So like, either you could focus on what's happening, or if like whatever's on my mind is too big to really do that, then I can be like, you know what? Today's not the day. I'm gonna go home and do what I need to do, and then I can try doing this again later.
Yeah. And like thinking of my depression as a foe, right? One of the things that I came to like really early was like, I'm never going to get rid of it, right? That's a big fucking hit where it's like it's never going to go away. Granted, it's way better now, right?
Yeah, that's a big part of the video game too, because like at the end, it like the part of her mental illness, like a visual metaphor for it, is like she's cursed with like this dark rot in her arm, and as the game goes on, it tells you that every time you die, the rot climbs up, and when it reaches her head, she dies. That's a lie. They're just trying to add tension.
Yeah.
But so at the end, the rot goes away, and it's like, oh, it like also the voices have been like kind of quiet for the last like few minutes of cutscenes. And you're like, oh shit, is her psychosis gone? Like, did she just like battle away her psychosis? And then the voices come back, but like there's kind of this internal like literal internal dialogue of like, oh, but it's different. Like I know a little bit more what's happening. I a little bit know more what to expect, and they seem a little bit more predictable, I suppose.
Yeah.
And so like I was like watching something about the making of the game, and they were very adamant that she does not defeat her mental illness and she does not get it to go away because you can't do that. And like a depiction of that is really problematic.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not a happy ending, but it's a resolution. Like you walk away from the game feeling like you completed it, even though there is no like true button,
It's a happy ending if you look at it a certain way.
Yeah, but it's not like an easy, simple happy ending,
Yeah, no, you're not saving the princess. Know that. Right?
Yeah.
It's a happy ending in the sense that like I hate like a really default happy ending, except for certain stories. This is really one of the things that I've been trying hard to do is evaluate what I look at as failure in the own context of my mental illness, right?
Mm-hmm.
I win a lot, right? Where it's like this idea that, like, yes, sure, today I didn't get out of bed, but tomorrow I got up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like this idea of like, I remember when I got my meds for depression, I got Lexapro. And Lexapro helps me a lot. Some people, some people meds don't work for me. It really does help.
Yeah, everyone's body chemistry is different. Yeah,
Uh,
there's a lot of different kinds of solutions.
yeah. Um, I like really felt like this like triumphant, like, yeah, I'm doing it. And then I think like a couple of weeks later, I felt like absolute garbage. I was still on the
Mhm.
meds, but I felt like shit. And I was like, well, I can get up tomorrow, right? And I know it's not the same thing, but it's this idea that like, yes, yeah, this character went through this awful fucking experience of realizing that, yeah, your beloved is actually always dead and you're always dealing with psychosis, right?
Mhm.
But when the terribleness of the world presents itself to you, right? That's right then only when you can grapple with it, right? When you realize I'm going to die, I'm going to have depression for the rest of my life, um, et cetera, et cetera. I'm all of these things. For me, it's coming out was a big one for me.
Mhm.
I sat down and I was like, shit, this is never going away, right? And
Mhm.
while it was a big fucking thing, it was like, now and only now do I have the tools to actually lead a life that's at all anything for me.
Yeah, it's like there's a portion of the stages of grief that kind of applies here. It's like once you stop trying to bargain with the truth and you just look at the truth without trying to push back on it, that's when you can do something with it.
It's like, I don't know, like when, what's the concept? Camus calls it the absurd. He says your want for meaning and the universe's unwillingness to provide anything.
Mhm.
And I think, there's the Buddhist concept of like want is what leads to suffering because when you want, and it's incongruous with the world around you, you suffer. But for me, it's like, uh,
But that's like saying like when you don't get your needs met, that's when you suffer. So just don't have needs.
well, no, but I think it is to some extent. Like you can't end all suffering. If you fucking need to eat food, you need to eat food, right?
Mhm.
But when it's something like, it is useful advice when it's something like, oh yeah, you want to not be gay, you want to not be
Yeah.
depressed,
Yeah,
right?
there's applications for it.
Yeah, radical acceptance works in a lot of places, right? And like I find a lot really great in like everyday minute to minute life.
Mhm.
I work a shitty job right now, but when I'm in the middle of that shitty job and I say, you know what? I accept that I am here and that I'm doing this, my job becomes a lot easier because I remember this is like temporary for right now,
Mhm.
right? Everything is going to change. Change is always there.
Yeah. Uh at an all hands meeting at work
Yeah.
recently. So that's like big department, like hundreds of people,
Yeah.
which was it's also just like a gigantic video call now
Yeah.
because we're all remote. But like there's like some shifts in like work culture right now that are happening.
Right.
And it's like one of the things that one of the people in leadership was saying was like always expect change and you'll never be disappointed. Like nothing is constant. And on the one hand, yes, that's correct. But like, if something really sucks right now, it's hard to deal with, just know that whatever it is will not be the same at some point in the future.
Right.
I have other feelings on that in a corporate context, but that's where I got those words.
Yeah. Well, and also like that's where I think that the usefulness of Buddhism really cuts off once you get into something like, oh yeah, just accept that you live in like a shitty. It helps for my mental health to be like, yes, I can't do anything about the overarching horridness of capitalism
Mhm.
by myself. I'm not happy about it, but I accept it. I work a shitty job and people are assholes to me, but I can accept that. I can be not happy with it, but I can accept that and move on with my life.
Mhm.
Right? You can go home and listen to the Caiaphas Game fucking audiobook, right? Um, I agree. Like that I do think that like when you're like getting into like socioeconomic conditions, that might not be the most useful thing to
Yeah.
analyze.
It reminds me of Maddie talking about like often in therapy, your client's real issue is that they live in poverty
Yeah.
and don't have resources or opportunity, or just they live in a system that tends not to extend those opportunities to that person. And like the
No
real
amount.
solution is changing the system,
Yeah.
but we can't do that this week. So instead, let's talk about how you're going to get through your week.
Yeah. You can't therapy away your material conditions.
No, yeah, you can't therapy away poverty.
Yeah.
Especially because therapy costs money.
Yeah. What I was gonna say was like, when I accepted that I had depression, my life got significantly better. Like,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah.
and then,
Yeah, then you have words for it. You know how to talk about it.
yeah,
Because then you know exactly what you should be looking up.
yeah, for therapy to like, oh yeah, if I deal with this in terms of like, I know when I'm spiraling, I know how to produce more positive self-talk for myself. I know how to like do all of that kind of stuff because I learned the vocabulary for it and I did my homework.
Yeah, yeah. It's like you've learned how to spot the patterns of things that are hard, and it doesn't mean that those things that are hard aren't real and that they're not hard, but you know how to approach them.
Yeah. I dislike saying this because I don't really like the show that much, even though I watched it all the way through. But there's fucking BoJack Horseman.
Oh,
There's this fucking character. There's a monkey. BoJack tries running, and the monkey is also running.
wait, Bojack tries what?
Running,
Running.
yeah, like jogging.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And the fucking monkey is also running, and BoJack is like collapsed on the fucking ground. And he's like, "How do you do this every day?" And the monkey's like, "You do it every day." Then it gets easier. And then later on in the show, they turn into like a ham-fisted metaphor for mental illness, which like I'm also going to do. So I can't talk shit. It's that. You do it every day, and then slowly and slowly you get better, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
We were basically saying that earlier. Like you eat shit until you don't.
yeah, shout outs for homeboy. I guess everyone, what I'm saying is, try to get the help that you can. Try to grapple with the world around you as you are capable. Do you got anything else you want to say?
I I was just thinking, I feel like there's a lot of shows out there that like have like a resources page. And like I wonder, like, say on our Instagram, we could have like a highlight reels of like hotlines and it's like, you don't know how to find a therapist, here's how to find a therapist. Like like so if you're listening to this and you're having feelings and you're thinking about maybe like, oh, like I want to do something, but I'm not sure how, and I'm like confused and scared, like, eventually once this airs, go look at the highlights reel if you're not sure where to start. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, if you're listening to this, we care about you.
Yeah, we certainly do.
We have been Klingon Opera House. It's been a very strange episode of a Star Trek recap podcast.
Bye.
Bye bye.